What is up, guys? This is Tcg Sam here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over some of my top tips for how to play rogue decks competitively and what you need to do to beat the meta when you're playing a rogue deck. But before we begin, I just want to thank you guys for helping me reach 1,000 subscribers. I really do appreciate it. It's honestly incredible. I didn't expect to get this far so quickly when I started it last summer, but I'm really happy that we were able to hit 1,000, and now the next goal is hitting that 10,000 subscriber mark. It's going to be a long journey, but I really do hope I can get there one day. And I would really appreciate it if you guys could continue all the support, leaving a like, comment, subscribing. It really means a lot to me, and I really appreciate it. But anyways, without any further ado, let's just hop straight in. So starting off, we lose the die roll, and we're forced to go second. And you can see here we're playing Burning Abyss. So Burning Abyss is obviously not one of the top meta decks, but it's a very, very nice rogue deck with a lot of plays it can still make. Playing against Dragon Link with Chamber, Safer, Black Metal, Nocto, Guard Dragon for the opening hand, so it's a pretty strong hand. We don't have any hand traps, so we're pretty much just forced to let our opponent go. While he's comboing, there's something I do want to say. When you're playing this type of rogue deck and your opponent really doesn't know what your cards do or like what deck you're playing, I think it's important to consider sometimes if you're playing into these unwinnable games to just scoop it up and go to game 2. You have a huge advantage going game 2 because your opponent will have no idea what you're playing, and if they side incorrectly, like if they think you're playing some kind of meta combo deck and side in a bunch of hand traps that do nothing against you, they're just gonna have a bunch of dead cards in their hand. But there's also the argument to be made that sometimes it's worth trying to play through your opponent's board with this rogue deck because your opponent won't know how to side against you regardless sometimes. But anyways, that's the end of our opponent's turn. He ends with Savage with 4 negates and a seal, plus a tidying. I wasn't really paying close attention to his combo, but this isn't terrible. He has technically 4 negates, about 2 bounces, plus a lot of follow-up, so if we don't kill him this turn, we're likely just going to lose. And with a handful of BAs, I think it's probably worth going against Dragon Link. I don't know how they can play differently against you if they know you're playing BAs. They can't really make a card like Dweller anyways, so I feel like it's worth trying to play it out, although I think it's really unlikely you're going to be able to break this board with the BAs. But we go Barbar, special Alec, go Battle Phase, try to bait out the Spheres. Spheres bounces Barbar, summons the Safer. Alec swings into the Safer. Brotar comes out, searches the black, and from here we just scoop it up. Not much you can do. I guess it was worth a try. I really doubt he's going to have any side cards specifically good against BAs, so I think it's alright. We actually do choose to blind second going into game 2. So that's the other thing about rogue decks. You always want to switch it up on your opponent, because your opponent's really just not going to be expecting, not going to really know what your deck does most of the time because you're playing a rogue deck. I would say like average to inexperienced players will definitely not know what you're doing. So you can switch it up on them, throw a curveball at them with, like we did here, forcing them to go second. So we can see that we are playing just a bunch of trap cards to break his board going second. But anyways, he's continuing with his combo. And as he's continuing, once again, I just want to reiterate the fact that when you're playing rogue, you have to make it so your opponent doesn't know what to expect going to the next games. They don't know what to side, they don't know how to play, and like they don't know what you could have put in, because like the fact that you're going second probably tells them like that there's probably something scary in your hand. Maybe sided in cards like Even Lead, Lightning Storm, or just a bunch of traps. Like he doesn't know, which may cause him to play interestingly. Like you can see here, he just every time goes for Savage and Seal. I personally think he can make a better board, but it is what it is. Start with Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial sending Graph. Graph effect, special summons the Scarm. Go Battle Phase, swing into the Seal. Seal bounces Scarm, summon Safer. We're going to reveal Scarm to special it, normal summon Graph. Make our Dante, and then we just set all of our traps. Like you don't have to mill anything. You probably don't want to mill anything because you used both of these Burning Abyss effects already. So you want to keep them under your Burning Abyss monsters. And that's going to branch into my next tip. And my next tip is you have to play optimally. You have to make sure your technical play is on point when you're playing a rogue deck, because more times than not, your opponent's meta deck's like engine is just going to be a lot better than your rogue deck's engine. So I feel like if you have to play very correctly and very optimally, like you can see here, he didn't commit to going greedy and trying to mill 3 with his by detaching Graph or Scarm. He just made Dante, set a bunch of trap cards. Like, Dante's gonna float. These 2 materials are gonna float anyway, so I really think this was the correct play. Playing optimally ensures that you have the best chance against these meta decks, because like I said before, most times your engine is weaker than theirs. So you have to make sure you focus more on outplaying your opponent, or just playing correctly in general and not misplaying, just so you give yourself the best chance to be able to beat your opponent. But you can see here, he's gonna add back Recharger. Recharger effect's gonna bring back the red MD. And then bring back Brotar. Brotar is going to search a Rocket Synchron. He's going to return Striker, draw 1. Normal summon Rocket, bring back Absolouter, make Chaotic, Chaos, whatever its name is. He gets to add Skullmeister, which is huge against our deck. So now that we know he has Skullmeister, that also is going to tie into my previous tip of playing optimally. So you know he has a card like Skullmeister. So even though it's a very small thing, it seems like a very something that it's a given that everyone would just know to play around it now. It's important to not forget these types of things. So when you're structuring your chain links, you can know which one to how to structure, so that you play around Skullmeister the best. So he brings back chaotic Ruler, and then you just activate Quick Launch. Quick Launch summons Rocket Tracer. Tracer and Chaotic and Dill goes into Boral Sword. Then he goes straight to battle phase. In the battle phase, he's gonna swing over it. Dante's gonna attempt to add back Graph, and you can see the chain link's gonna be 1 Graph and 2 Dante targeting Graph, so that's gonna play around a card like Meister. I mean, yeah, if he negates the Dante, they bring back Graph. It's kind of okay because we have like a bunch of traps set anyways, and you really do want Graph to trigger, so you have a chance to activate your Torrential or your Needle Sealing here. And it also plays around a card like Ash, because we know that if we put Graph as Chainlink 2, he can negate it with Meister and or Ash. So it's important to play around cards like that. Special Summoning Seer, and then on the summon, activating Torrential, negates to a Savage, activates Needle Sealing, blows up the entire board. Seer effect brings back Dante. And then at the end phase, we're going to Scar him for Tour Guide. So you can see there, our opponent held the Meister because he thought, Dante's adding back Graph doesn't really do anything because he has 2 sets. You can't really special summon BAs in that case. But you can see here, it was very well played. We were able to clear both of our back rows. Now our board is clear for our BAs, plus we have a follow-up in Tour Guide. And our opponent just did not expect that. So Tour Guide gets summoned. And then from here we go battle phase, swing with Dante, swing with Tour Guide for 2k, and then here we make a Downer, and then we go into a Zeus. So that's the other thing. You should take advantage of cards pretty much that can't be played by a top meta deck. So like what I mean by that is not every meta deck can play a card like Zeus. If you think about like Infernoble Knights, Dragon Links, Eldritch, they can't play a card like Zeus. And it's important when you're playing a rogue deck to take advantage of all these options available to you. Like your opponent might have just thought like, oh, you might make a Beatrice and just pass, but I mean, Zeus is just such a strong card and so generic. It's generic enough where you can play it in this deck, which is just absolutely crazy. So you make a Zeus. He's gonna activate Boot, bringing back 2, putting back Chaos Ruler, and then Synchroning for Chaos Ruler, milling 5 more, grabs back a Safer. Swings over Tour Guide in battle phase, and then effect the Zeus. That's the other thing too. You have to take advantage, pretty much use every advantage you can get when you're playing a rogue deck. So that's my next tip. You can see here that a lot of people might have forgotten Zeus's other effect. When a card is you control destroyed by battle or a card effect, you can attach 1 card from your hand, deck, or extra deck to it as material. You can see he put Seer under the Zeus, which is just absolutely huge, because that gives his Zeus Sen a lot more value, because he's able to attach Dante, attach Seer, bring back Dante, add back Seer, and that's just absolutely incredible from there. Plus it sets up a potential extra negate if Zeus just sticks on the board for that long. From here, I believe in the end phase, he's going to activate a Zeus effect, doing the play I just said. And he's going to use Seer on Dante on Scarm, which finally forces our opponent to Meister. Although, I feel like adding back Scarm really just wouldn't do that much here anyways, because you're still locked under not having a BA. So if you added back Scarm, it's okay, really. But it forced our opponent to use it because we're just chain blocking our most important effect on Seer. So Super brings back Dante. Dante effect on Skarm's negated. We discard our Graph for Beatrice. Graph effect, which gets Meistered, which is totally okay. It's really not that big of a deal. We can just swing for 5,500. And then just a small thing here. I asked him after, he told me he wasn't playing the second Zeus. But if he was playing the second Zeus there, this could have been huge. You could have slapped another Zeus right on top, put it in defense with just the player on a card like Lightning Storm. That's the other thing too. When you're playing a rogue deck, you look for these like sneaky advantages or these very unexpected things that your opponent may not expect. And yeah, like I said before, it's just these very small things that matter. But regardless, Beatrice sent Barbar burn for game, which is just really nice. Going to the final game, here is where it gets interesting, because now at this point your opponent's probably played against you enough to know what your deck does and to know how to kind of stop you. So the fact that he kind of, even though he saw this BA deck go second game 2 when he had the choice, he still chose to go first, which is interesting. So we'll see how it ends up. Starting off with Tracer and Abs, he's going to search a boot. He's going to link those two into Seal, add Tracer, activate boot effect, summon Tracer, Tracer pop, summon Recharger, make LP, and then discarding Ash for the LP to negate it. Our opponent TTTs us and puts away the Foolish Burial. Activating Striker, popping LP, adding back Tracer, and then just passing turn from there. Drawing for turn, draw Dino-Miscus, Ice Dragon's Prison, and Trap Trick. Setting those 3, passing. Opponent activates Striker Dragon here, adding back Recharger. Also, another note, I would highly suggest, if you guys, even if you guys are playing a meta deck, it's really nice to read up on strategy articles on a site called TCG Player Infinite, I believe. There's a lot of articles written by a lot of top tier players there, where it kind of explains a lot of small intricate details about the game that aren't necessarily just like, oh, what's the top meta deck right now, how to play this meta deck. There are a lot more things to consider, and one of those concepts is who's the beatdown. So I'm not really going to get into it, but if you have this type of knowledge as a rogue player especially, it's very beneficial because it allows you to outplay your opponents more and just make sure you play optimally, which is so important. Because like I may not have explained it before, but your engine, when I say it's weaker, it means like you get punished more for misplaying, unlike a very strong engine where all your cards like replace themselves and just are so good. Even if you mess up, you're still able to win. With a rogue deck, it's important to remember that sometimes if you mess up, it's really going to set you back really far. So you're gonna have you're gonna always want to be playing optimally. You pretty much have to be playing optimally at that point. But our graph gets negated. We take 12 from the Absorrouter, draw Strike, set it and pass. Our opponent normal safer grabs white, and then white summon itself and just swings with white and Abs, turning those out into ROM, grabbing all these searches. So you can see what I mean by a stronger engine here. Like, our opponent just grabbed 3 cards off of like 1 Link summon. It's actually crazy. So I would say personally, Dragon Link has a much stronger engine than BA's, which is why he has to play it completely optimally, use every single one of these traps optimally to be able to get the most out of his cards. So like right there, you saw he could have been able to strike the Romulus, which might have been okay, but it would just stop him from getting Ravine and keeping a body on board. But he still gets to search for the other 2, for the Rocket and the Black. So it would really not be that good. You probably want to save Strike for a more high impact card like Access Code or Borrelsword Dragon or something. Drawing Farfa, setting Farfa, passing. Our opponent's going to activate Dragon Ravine, discarding Quick Launch, sending Red MD. Summon is Black, pop itself at Recharger effect, discarding itself, bring back Red MD, and then from here, you can see that he's using his traps very optimally. Every single resource you have is important. You want to be getting like these 2-for-1s from your opponent. You can see he pretty much forced his opponent to waste the Recharger effect, gets rid of the Red MD, and gets rid of a follow-up and Safer, which is just absolutely insane off of that just 1 card. So it's important to be able to use your cards in the most optimal way. Our opponent goes Pisty, effect to move Pisty, and then from here, striking the Pisty. Personally, I think striking the Pisty was alright, but I personally would have held it because like Pisty, like I'm not really sure what he can bring back. I guess he can bring back the Red MD, but then if he brings back Red MD, then like and it summons something back and attempts to go for game, you still have Trap Trick for a card like Needle Sling. But I think Strike here is just fine, hoping to cut off your opponent before they go off into anything. And then normal summoning Rocket Synchron, bringing back Router, and then from here activating Trap Trick, setting Needle Sealing, activating Needle Sealing, blowing up everything. Unfortunately, you don't draw a BA monster, that would have been huge. If we draw Torrential, set it, pass. Normal Rocket Tracer, swing into Farfoot, take 300. Top decking Tour Guide, which is just incredible. Tour Guide, special summons Farfoot. You can also see what I meant with the weaker engine. So your really good like bomb card top decks are like your 3 Tour Guides pretty much in this scenario. Our opponent had the opportunity to draw cards like Warlike Guard Dragon, Levianeer, Chaos Space, all these bomb cards that would have been so good. So you can see the disparity in the engines here, but you can also remember at one point we had 4 cards to our opponents, what, like 7, 8, or 9, and now we're almost even because he has pretty much one semi dead resource. Like, yeah, it's still useful, but both of his Guard Dragons are gone, so this is pretty much a dead card. He has 3 cards to our 2, but we're getting so many resources back when we start our floating engine. So Dante just swings for 1,000, makes a downer and a Zeus. That's the thing, you don't have to unnecessarily risk losing to a card like Gamma if you don't have to. And also allows our Zeus to have 2 sends, which is really nice. End phase, bring back a Tracer. And then from here, he's just going to activate Zeus, which is interesting, I suppose. Sends away every single card on the field, activating. Still chain blocking the Graph. Like I mentioned earlier, it's these small things. Like if you put Graph as Chainlink 2, not only do you lose to Skullmaster, you also lose to a card like Ash, whereas this play does not. So he special summons Skarm, Skarm dies. End phase, Skarm adds Tour Guide. Normal summon Tour Guide gets ashed. Swings with everything for 4k. Sets Dynamiscus Pass. And from here, opponent normal Skullmeister swings into Tour Guide, which is fine. And then he can use Zeus to attach. So at this point, it was pretty much a concession from our opponent. So you can see there that despite having the quote-unquote inferior engine playing the not meta deck, you're still able to beat one of the top meta decks with probably one of the best like resource game in like ever, because of all these follow-ups that you're supposed to have with the deck. But you can see here through let me just summarize the tips I had, so they may or may not be in order, but you have to play the most optimally, understand the meta, so you can see you're hitting the deck at different times where it would hurt them the most. You have to do stuff like that. You can't play your cards suboptimally because your engine is not really as strong as some of the other engines, which means you have to use your engine to its maximum potential. You can't use it suboptimally, otherwise you're probably going to lose that game. And then the last thing is just take advantage of all these small things that your opponent just getting the small edges over your opponent, like throwing a curveball at them, choosing to go second game 2, playing these like tech cards that your opponent may not have expected. Like, I don't know if you expect the Needle Sealing and Torrential Tribute, like 2 board clears. Normally it's just one or the other. Playing optimally, of course, like chain blocking your most important effects, stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to explain through this duel replay. Is a very good example of what I was trying to say, in my opinion. But that's going to do it for me, guys. If you liked the video, leave a like, comment, subscribe, because it really helps keep me motivated to keep posting more videos like this. And let's try to hit 1,500 subscribers by the end of March as my personal goal. It's very ambitious, I know, but I feel like we can do it. It's like, I'm just hoping that we can slowly start quickly growing this channel to something really big in the future. So I'd really appreciate you guys if you could share this channel with your friends, leave a like, comment, subscribe, like I said. It would really help me out, and I really appreciate it. I really do appreciate your support, guys. And I just want to thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.